Well, welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Roby. I'm a director and a leadership advisor at the Siegfried Group and a member of our Charlotte market. As John mentioned, we're all really excited to have you join us today for a webinar discussing how to lead and to not manage your remote team. As everyone knows, COVID-19 has caused a major disruption in our lives, impacting us all both personally and professionally. Before we get started and hear from John, I wanted to start today with a story about teamwork and gratitude. And this story is about Charles Plum, the highly decorated and accomplished American fighter pilot whose plane was shot down during the Vietnam War. For one day, he was at a restaurant and a man approached him and said, "You're Charles Plum." Charles asked how he knew that, and the man replied, "I packed your parachute." They shook hands and the man said, "I guess it worked." And Charles replied, "If the chute hadn't have worked, I wouldn't be here today." Later that evening, Charles couldn't sleep, wondering how many times had he passed that man while on his aircraft carrier. Nowadays, Charles tells that story and asks his audiences to reflect on who's packing their parachutes, who's doing the little things behind the scenes that can often turn out to be the biggest of things, but also because it often takes a difficult situation to ground us in gratitude. Our firm's higher purpose is to help people transform themselves into better leaders to exponentially improve their lives. We wanted to host this today as a small gesture of thanks to show our support to each of you as we navigate through this together. Thrilled to have John join us. John is a personal friend of mine and a mentor. He's the author of Building the Best, 8 Proven Leadership Principles to Elevate Others to Success. He's got a fantastic podcast called Follow My Lead. He's been recognized by LinkedIn as a top voice in management and in the workplace.
Well, Nick, I appreciate that. I'm thrilled to be here as well. What is your number one challenge leading a remote team? Ryan, they're coming in quick. Ryan says, connecting with team members, keeping up on everyone, says TJ. These are fantastic. These are real challenges that you and I and other leaders are facing today now that we're leading a remote team. Like most things, my story isn't that unique. I dreamed of the opportunity to lead a team. And when I finally got the opportunity to lead my own team, things were not going well. So I did what most young leaders do. I decided to let one of my team members go. Couldn't be John's fault, had to be somebody else's. So I called this team member in my office that night. I told her that we were letting her go. And she looked at me at the end of that meeting. She said, "John, I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know what we were doing. And I didn't know how it was helping us get there." And if you've ever sat in that chair and had to hear from a team member that the problem is not them, the problem is you from a leadership perspective, it becomes real how important our jobs are as leaders. There's a man named Jocko Willink, and he famously said, "There are no bad teams, only bad leaders." There was some great research done right before all of this coronavirus hit. And they found these were the 4 biggest struggles facing remote workers today: collaboration and communication, loneliness, not being able to unplug at work, and certainly the distractions that come with working from home. Not only that we face, but also that our teams face. That's already hard about remote work. But then you layer on the coronavirus and you layer on these additional challenges that come with leading a remote team. A lot of people can go manage just like they were before, but leading a remote team is different, and it requires different skills, different standards, different priorities to lead your remote team effectively. Someone whose actions inspire, empower, and serve in order to elevate others over an extended period of time. And here's why this definition is so essential, because these words are chosen very carefully. The word inspire comes from a Latin word which means to breathe life into. How many times have you left work and you said, I felt like I got the life sucked right out of me. That means we need leaders that understand the struggles and the challenges that people are facing right now, and they need somebody to breathe life into them. What a great opportunity in front of us during this time of the coronavirus for them to say, I had this manager, and I just have to tell you what he did during the coronavirus. Because I'm going to tell this story about the coronavirus to my kids and my kids. This is when leaders are made right now. And how you treat your people, even if bad things have to happen, letting them go or furloughs or whatever it might be, how you treat your people during this time are how your team is going to remember you. Prepare to serve. Here's how it goes. When you change your role or your environment, you say to yourself, prepare to serve, and then you go put it into action. I have to remember that today I'm here to serve you. And when I walk out of this office door today, now I'm going to go serve my kids. So here's the principle that I want to share with you today. The instant you lower your standards is the instant performance begins to erode. If now all of a sudden your whole team is working remotely, but you expect them to be tied to their computer, we're missing the boat. We've got to trust our people. We got to focus on the outcomes that they deliver and the effort and the attitude that they bring to work in team meetings. I want you to really ask yourself this question today. Does your team know what the remote work standard is for their schedule? When we are leading remote teams, there is not a more essential activity than your team meeting. So here's a little bit of the structure of a weekly remote team meeting standard. Napoleon famously said, a leader's job is to define reality and to provide hope. So in the current environment right now, your team has some uncertainty about what's going on and how we're working and how the business is doing and should I be concerned? You're going to open those weekly team meetings every single week with the current state and facts of the situation. Next, then you're going to go deliver hope. Look, our best days are ahead of us. We're going to be doing everything in our power, and we're going to need your help to make sure that comes to fruition. 3, now we're going to go clarify the priorities, because right now, more than ever with your remote team, people are navigating their to-do list on their own. And part of your responsibility as a leader is to list out the priorities that are more important over others. Now it's time to transfer the baton. Each team member that you have comes prepared to answer these 3 questions. What's one thing I did last week that moved the needle for our team? What's one thing you are working on this week to move the needle? And then where do you need help? If we can't effectively communicate to our remote teams, it is going to be a nightmare of a situation for everybody involved. So in order to overcome that, we have to use what we call the 3 C's of successful communication. We have to be clear, we have to be concise, and most importantly, we have to be conclusive. Clarity is all about just what am I asking someone to do when I send an email, when I send an IM, when I have my team meeting. Concise is all about doing it in the shortest amount of time possible. It doesn't mean something can't be long, but can we get the least amount of words that's required to get the message across? And then most importantly, can we be conclusive? Can we make them care about it? Because successful communication is not about me. It's about how much I can make it matter to you, because you're the one with the ears and the mind. So here are a few questions that you can use. What are some coaching questions that you can ask your remote team right now to help them on their journey? These are great coaching questions. It gets them thinking. So I'll close with this. It is people like you who can lead remote teams. This isn't some mystical figure. This isn't someone born with some natural leadership DNA. It is you and me. It's people like you who can lead a remote team. And what it takes is to be committed to it and not interested in it, because there is a big difference.